did many good things for the people of Israel, and I think the past year has been a disaster in Israel in terms of incompetence, and I think it's exactly the time to hand over the leadership to the younger generation.
All right, let's cross over to Neri Zilber, who joins us now from Tel Aviv. He's an adjunct fellow at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy. Neri, good to have you on the show. I think it's easy to think that the entire 2021 Israel election campaign is about Netanyahu. Is that so?
Well, it is, but it's also a question of what Netanyahu stands for going into this election and what he intends to do after the election. So it is true that it's personalized around the figure of Benjamin Netanyahu and, obviously Israel's longest ever serving prime minister. But also it's a Netanyahu that's angling publicly now for a far-right government with very radical pro-settler elements, ultra-Orthodox elements within Israeli politics, and then obviously his corruption trial. So this entire 2-year political stalemate / crisis is really about Netanyahu himself, but also his legal troubles and his attempts through the ballot box to extricate himself from the courtroom.
Neri, 4 times in 2 years, that's the number that Israelis have actually gone to the polls. The fact of the matter is that the prime minister is standing trial on corruption charges. I mean, what is the end game here? I mean, behind these constant elections, I mean, is it Netanyahu trying to sort of win a strong enough parliamentary majority that he can avoid, impunity?
That's exactly right. His attempts now for going on now 2 years is to get a solid parliamentary majority, a right-wing parliamentary majority that will either pass laws to shield him from prosecution or to stop the trial completely. And every time he has essentially failed to get this parliamentary majority, he's been willing to drag the country into yet another election round to try again. Now, last year, it was a stalemate as well, and he was essentially forced to enter into this grand coalition with his centrist rivals, but he had no intention of actually honoring that unity government agreement. And when the timing was correct, especially in terms of the corona pandemic, he dissolved his own government and took the country to elections once again.
Talking about the coronavirus pandemic, I want to get your own take on it. I mean, how is the gridlock, the political gridlock, affected Israelis? I mean, on the one hand, yes, the country is without sort of a state budget during one of the most sort of profound crises, but it also has, a world-class, world-leading vaccination program.
That's right. The election might be about Benjamin Netanyahu, but it's also his handling of the pandemic and the economic crisis over the past year. But really, in recent weeks, as I'm sure you know, Israel has been leading the world in vaccination rates. The economy almost fully reopened about 2 weeks ago, right in time for the election. Infection rates are going down. So really, it's a question of whether people actually remember the mishandling of the past year, or whether they give Netanyahu credit for bringing the vaccines and extricating Israel from the pandemic and reopening the economy. That's really what the election tomorrow will be about, not just Netanyahu himself, pro or against.
All right. Neri Zilber live for us from Tel Aviv. Thank you very much.